Hey guys, so here's an update on our Chevy pickup derby build. If you guys can see what I got here, I got an engine sitting in this thing. So got it all welded up, and the motor mounts are all there, welded up and good. And not really sure why we're having so much focus issues, so hopefully it still comes out okay. But as you guys can tell, I have this master cylinder and brake booster that is way too close to that header. Now, I know what a lot of you guys would do is probably take that out and just go with maybe a foot mounted or floor mounted system. Well, you know what? That takes extra money that I don't really feel I need to spend on this thing. So what I'm going to do is try something a little different. I've done it in the past on the Imperial and it actually worked really well. And I'm just going to move this thing over, the whole brake assembly, the brake pedal on the inside, and then the booster and the master cylinder. So I've already got the lines here, and I've got a lot of extra slack built into them. Now, I might relocate them because I really don't like where that's located, but I do have a lot of travel before the front bumper, so might just leave them alone. But either way, I've got a lot of slack in the system. So I've already gone ahead and unbolted them from the firewall here. And so what I got going on the inside, I've already loosened these nuts on the bottom side to drop the steering column. So that's already kind of dropped down a little bit. Can't really tell because it's got a little spring in it. But this bracket right here bolts to the firewall through the brake booster bracket, and then is bolted here. And then all that's attached to it is the brake pedal and then the lever arm that actually goes into the booster. So what we're going to do is we're unbolting this. We're going to take apart the brake pedal assembly, and then we'll cut this a little shorter because these brackets obviously won't line up anymore. And then just have floating in here, and I'll probably maybe use some steel strapping or something. I'm not really sure exactly what all I'm going to do yet, because I kind of tend to figure this stuff out as I go. But either way, I'm just going to move this bracket over, and we'll put some new holes in the firewall. And basically, to look at it like this, I have two studs that are permanently already attached to the truck, and I'm just going to move this hole over to this stud. So that way I've already got these three holes that line up. I'll put a new hole in the center for that linkage that goes through, that arm that actually goes and actuates into the booster. And then we'll drill three new holes on the side, and then basically, you know, just drill the holes, move this over, bolt it in. It's all good to go. The pedal bracket will already be there, lined up, looking good. And this will already be there. Now the only other thing I might do is obviously then once this lever is on the other side of the steering column, that brake pedal is no longer going to have the right offset. It's going to be definitely favoring towards the driver's door. Now I do have quite a bit of room, so it's not too big of an issue, but what I might do is maybe weld a plate on the top of that goes a little longer, you know, or maybe trim this edge and then put another plate in that goes a little longer. Just tack that on and weld it on, so that way my pedal is a little more in the proper offset to what it actually should be. I could just drill those out, I suppose, and move it out. I'll take a look at it, and obviously when you guys check the next update, you'll see exactly what all's happening. Got a hole here cut for the shifter. Now, when I had mocked the engine up before I permanently welded the mounts, I had marked where I needed to cut a hole for the shifter, and that's where I put it. So I haven't done final tweaks or anything like that, but I already have that in place. And then yeah, so the motor is permanently mounted now, guys. But I should have just taken the time and did this. I was on a business trip for the last week and a half, and I was just really mulling over what's the best solution. And looking at pictures, I realized I could just easily move this over and then just be done. I'll have the clearance I need. You know, it might still be a little close to the booster, but at least the master cylinder now will not be exposed to the heat. I've also taken the time to wrap the headers in some header wrap, which I've heard and seen some good results. Now, I didn't get super fancy with it, and I didn't do it into the lead-in pipes, but at this point I mainly wanted to have the main trunk of the collector and where the collector meets right here be the insulated part where it comes through the hood, because ultimately that's where a lot of the heat will be stored. This will definitely get hot, but it'll start to transfer up towards the tips. So maybe if I have a little more time in this build, I'll take the time and take these off and just do them properly, but to keep on rolling, that's what was my quick temporary solution. So we'll see if that's any good. And I also picked up a new carburetor for this engine. If any of you guys remember me running this thing, I had a Demon carburetor, It was a 650 Demon, and it just seemed to be a little bit too much carb for this motor. I mean, the CFM was fine, but Demons tend to run rich, generally speaking, and with the way that this motor is set up, it was just getting too much fuel for derby use. It was great for, you know, maybe an off-road application where all I'm doing is just gunning it and then idling or something for a little while, and then had a chance for it to kind of clean itself out, so to speak, lean itself out. But ultimately, I was having to put the pedal down and then bring it back up too much for that carburetor, and it was just loading up and it would start flooding. And it didn't seem to matter how much I set the jets, and I tried all kinds of different combinations. I could not get this thing dialed in. So I picked up an Edelbrock carb. It's already been set up for derby. I picked it up from another derby guy that we work with here, and those that we run at our local fair, so they're good guys. And it's already set up. It's a 600 CFM carb, so we'll swap that on and see how it works. So there you go, guys. That's what's been happening on the truck pretty much, other than finishing some stripping on the thing. I got the gas tank out and done some other work to it for cleanup purposes. Obviously I got the core support out now to get the engine in and stuff, and the bumper is almost completely loose and off. I've only got 2 more bolts that unfortunately are stripped on me, so I'll have to cut them off with the grinder, and I'll actually probably be doing that in a few minutes here. And then we'll swap it out with a bumper. The rules say I have to bolt the bumper on, so I'm not really sure exactly what bumper I'm going to use. I've got that one, the aluminum one, that's still stronger than heck, on my Suburban, and that thing, it's all mounted up right now, it's bolted on. They changed the rules on where I can run that Suburban. Now we're allowed to load the bumper, but honestly, at this point, that thing's been through so many derbies, I'm just going to leave it alone for now. At least run it one more time, because that truck will actually run before this build here. And depending on how that truck's holding up or whatever, I might unbolt that bumper and then bolt it onto this one, this truck. We'll see. I'm still kind of playing that one. I might end up actually doing that kind of at the last minute. That will probably be the last thing that actually happens on this truck, because we got a couple car shows that we're already signed up for, and we got to get this thing built for that by the end of the month. We got a Christian music festival that we always take a vehicle to, and this is going to be the one we're planning on taking. So probably going to end up actually getting a lot of building stuff on the outside done and all welded up and painted, looking good, and just leaving the stock bumper on. I probably might throw some bolts on it just temporarily, like, or whatever. But there you go. We've been making pretty good progress, so now we're excited. We're going to get that brake booster moved over, and then it's time to hook the motor up and get this thing finally running. So stay tuned for videos on that, guys. So until the next video, we'll talk to you later.